Hi everybody, I'm here with the Chalice Well today in Glastonbury to do a Christmas special for our Common Law Ascent team. So thank you for joining us. Just like to cover a bit of reading from my King Alfred book here in this very, very special place where the chalice, the Holy Grail, is said to have been placed. I'm going to start off with quotes from King Alfred. Just there's a bit at the end of this book that unless I read this quote you won't understand it. So basically King Alfred said, "By this one law anyone may know how he ought to judge another. He needs no other law book." And that is in an apostolic letter which Alfred translates from Act 15. Is found a version of the Golden Rule in its negative form. "That which ye would not that other men should do to you, do not ye to other men." So that is the Golden Rule according to Alfred the Great.
That sounds like the seeds of common law, doesn't it?
It does.
Pre-Magna Carta.
Lovely book. I'm starting at the end of a chapter. It mentions a few other monarchs and how basically this author loves Alfred, King Alfred. They think he's fantastic. So it says, "And then recall Alfred's comment on the Golden Rule, judging, do not to others as you would not have done to yourselves. By this one law everyone may know how he ought to judge another. He needs no other law book in order to feel the difference between them. It is only when I think of St. Louis that my heart becomes a little divided. St. Louis is, to my thinking, one of the most beautiful characters in the whole of history. His saintliness is no doubt of the medieval type, but this is not surprising seeing that he lived in the 13th century, the central and culminating period of the Middle Ages. Dante and Joan of Arc and Thomas à Kempis are medieval too, and he went on crusade when, according to every utilitarian standard, he would have been better employed in governing his own kingdom. Yet I, at least, cannot love him less because as a young man he saw visions and went on the quest of the Holy Grail, and he was fortunate in his biographer. What we would not give to have, instead of Asser's stilted and confused Latin, a memoir of Alfred in our native tongue, which might rank with Joinville's picture of his master, and yet in some ways the very saintliness of Louis became a curse to France, for it shed a consecration on an evil despotism, which finally exploded in one of the most hideous convulsions in history. Sword and fire, red ruin, and the breaking up of laws." It seems a hard thing to say, but there is a very real connection between St. Louis and the French Revolution. Alfred, on the other hand, is one of the very few rulers whose work in life and whose memory after death have been, as far as may be said of anything here below, an unmixed blessing to their peoples. Alfred's aspiration has indeed been abundantly fulfilled. "My will was to live worthily as long as I lived, and after my life to leave to them that should come after my memory in good works. If I have done something in these lectures to place so great a memory in a clearer light, and to sweep away some of the false traditions by which has been obscured, I shall regard myself as having done a real if humble service, not only to historical truth but also to the national life. We need to keep our historical memories not only fresh but true, for in the words of the great historian, with the remembrance of whom I began these lectures, the healthy nation has a memory as well as aspirations involved in the consciousness of its identity. It has a past no less living than its future." So I just covered that in front of the lovely well here, which is associated with Joseph of Arimathea again and the Holy Grail.